Hare Krishna. Good morning from Naperville, Illinois. This is May 30th, um, 2024, and today we are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, 16th chapter, verse number 19. Let me share my screen. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. What I'll do is I'll first read the word to word synonyms and then I'll go to the Sanskrit verses. Taranti, crossover. He, because. Anjasa, easily. Mrityum, birth and death. Nivritaha, seizing all material desires. Yat, your. Anugrahat, by mercy. Yoginaha, transcendentalists. Saha, the Supreme Lord. Bhavan, you. Kim Swith, never possible. Anugrahayete, may be favored. Yat, which. Parehe, by others. Taranti hi anjasa mrityum. Nivrita anugrahat. Yoginaha sa bhavam kim swed. Anugriyeta, yat parehe. Taranti hi anjasa mrityum. Nivrita anugrahat. Yoginaha sa bhavan kim swed anugriyeta yat parehe. Taranti hi anjasa mrityum nivrita anugrahat. Yoginaha sa bhavan kim swed anugriyeta yat parehe. Translation. Mystics and transcendentalists, by the mercy of the Lord, cross beyond nescience by seizing all material desires. It is not possible, therefore, that the Supreme Lord can be favored by others. Once again, I'll read the translation. Mystics and transcendentalists, by the mercy of the Lord, cross beyond nescience by seizing all material desires. It is not possible, therefore, that the Supreme Lord can be favored by others. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Unless one is favored by the Supreme Lord, one cannot cross over the ocean of nescience of repeated birth and death. Here it is stated that yogis or mystics cross beyond nescience by the mercy of the Supreme Lord of Godhead, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many kinds of mystics, such as the Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, Dhyana Yogi, and Bhakti Yogi. The Karmis particularly search after the favor of the demigods. The Jnanis want to become one with the Supreme Absolute Truth. And the yogis are satisfied simply by partial vision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, and ultimately by oneness with Him. But the bhaktas, the devotees, want to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead eternally and serve Him. It has already been admitted that the Lord is eternal, and those who want the favor of the Supreme Personality, and those who want the favor of the Supreme Personality perpetually are also eternal. Therefore, yogis here means devotees. By the mercy of the Lord, devotees can easily pass beyond the nations of birth and death and attain the eternal abode of the Lord. The Lord is therefore not in need of another's favor because no one is equal or greater than him. Actually, everyone needs the favor of the Lord for successful understanding of his human mission. So, very nice, sweet, short purport. Om Ajnana-Timirandasya Jnananjana-Shalakaya Chakshuru-Mitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Vishnupataya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So just to orient us on where we are, um, so the now we have the Kumaras at the gates of Vaikunta, and they feel offended by the by Vijaya, Jaya and Vijaya, um, the guards outside the gates of Vaikunta. And uh, the earlier verses, we had the Supreme Lord who himself, feels accountable, and he is describing how esteemed of a position the Brahmanas are in his eyes, and and then he's glorifying and defining the position of the respect and the position that the Brahmanas hold in his heart. And then it is a turn of the Kumaras who are then responding to what they just heard uh, from the Supreme Lord. And so this is the fourth verse. Now, in response to the Supreme Lord's sentiments, here the Kumaras are essentially sharing their thoughts and their sentiments with the Supreme Lord. So that's where we are. And um, in this in there are two points that I wanted to spend a little bit more time on. One is um, yogi, and the second is the crossing of nations of all material, crossing the ocean of nations. So in this case, Srila Prabhupada is once again, doesn't waste any opportunity to establish the preeminent position of bhakti. And it is only through the medium of bhakti that one has access to the um, personal, sweet relationship with the Supreme Lord, which is most satisfying to the devotees. So I just wanted to read our, um, the famous verse 6.47 Bhagavad Gita. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. And of all the yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself and renders transcendent and loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So this is what I would like to call as the mic drop statement from Sri Krishna. So in this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada focuses very acutely on the word bhajate. So I wanted to read a little bit about this word bhajate. Um, let me. Okay, so in this verse, also the word bhajanti is used. First, let's try to word bhajate. The word bhajate is significant here. Bhajate has its root in the verb bhaj, which is used when there is need of service. The English word worship cannot be used in the same sense as bhaj. Worship means to adore or to show respect and honor to the worthy one. But service with love and faith is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One cannot avoid worshipping and One cannot avoid worshipping a respectable man or a demigod, and may be called discourteous, but one cannot avoid serving Supreme Lord without being thoroughly condemned. Every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus every living entity is intended to serve the Supreme Lord by his own constitutional, by his own constitution. Failing to do this, he falls down. In this verse, also the word bhajanti is used. Therefore, bhajanti is applicable to the Supreme Lord only, whereas the word worship can be applied to demigods or to any other common living entity. The culmination, I'm skipping a few sentences here just to draw parallels with what Srila Prabhupada is talking in Srimad Bhagavatam, in expanding the word yoga, yogi. And again, this is tying it back to uh, the Shastras in Bhagavad Gita. So the culmination of all kinds of yoga practices lies in Bhakti Yoga. All other yogas are but means to come to a point of bhakti in Bhakti Yoga. Yoga actually means Bhakti Yoga. All other yogas are progressions towards the destination of Bhakti Yoga. From the beginning of Karma Yoga to the end of Bhakti Yoga is a long way to self realization. Karma Yoga without fruitive results is the beginning of this path. When Karma Yoga increases in knowledge and renunciation, the stage is called Jnana Yoga. When Jnana Yoga increases in meditation on the Super Soul by different physical processes, and the mind is on him, it is called Ashtanga Yoga. And when one surpasses the Ashtanga Yoga and comes to the point of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is called Bhakti Yoga, the culmination. Factually, Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal. But to analyze Bhakti Yoga minutely, one has to understand these other yogas. The yogi who is progressive is therefore on the true path of eternal good fortune. One who sticks to a particular point and does not make further progress is called by that particular name: Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, Dhyana Yogi, Raja Yogi, Hatha Yogi, etc. If one is fortunate enough to come to the point of Bhakti Yoga, it is to be understood that he has surpassed all other yogas. Therefore, to become Krishna conscious is the highest stage of yoga, just as when we speak of Himalayan, we refer to the world's highest mountains, of which the highest peak, Mount Everest, is considered to be the culmination. So I wanted to expound on that yoga through this verse in Bhagavad Gita 6.27. Now, the other part of, if you go back to the, I'll just read the translation once again. Mystics and transcendentalists, by the mercy of the Lord, cross beyond nescience by seizing all material desires. So when I was reading this, automatically the another beautiful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, where I'm sure many of you are aware of, which is the hoof print of the cow, the ability to cross the ocean of nescience. So I wanted to read that verse too. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, second chapter, verse number 30. Vayambujaksh Akhila Sattvadamni Samadhina Viseta Chetasaike Tvatpadapotena Mahatkritena Kurvanti Govatsa Padam Bhavad Bhavadim. Translation: O lotus-eyed Lord, by concentrating one's meditation on your lotus feet, which are the reservoir of all existence, and by accepting those lotus feet as the boat by which to cross the ocean of nations, one follows in the footsteps of Mahajanas, that is, great saints, sages, and devotees. By this simple process, one can cross the ocean of nations as easily as one steps over the hoof print of a calf. So that is one verse that comes to mind. And actually, there is another verse that again uh, um, has this notion of crossing the ocean of Nescience and compares it to the hoof print of a calf, which is in again the 10th canto, but this time 14th chapter, verse number 58. Samashritāye padapallava plavam mahatpadam punya yasho murarehe bhavam buddhiryatsa padam param padam 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 yad vipadam natesham. Translation: for those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Murari, the enemy of the Murar demon. The ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. Their goal is Param Padam, Vaikunta, the place where there is no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. So, um, again, I would like to just go back and tie it down to the verse for today. So, A, Srila Prabhupada here talks about defining the word yoga as that pertaining yogi as that pertaining to a devotee, and so that is number one. And number two is this crossing the ocean of nescience by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, um, is what is being spoken of here, and that mercy of the Supreme Lord is accessible through the devotees who are always situated at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, which is what we talked about in the other two Srimad Bhagavatam verses from Canto number 10, where it is by the mercy of the Mahajanas, by the mercy of the devotees, by the mercy of the spiritual master, one can gain the favor and is able to cross the ocean of material existence. So, uh, I just wanted to quickly summarize that. Now, there is another point that I was reminded just as I was reading this was um, now this notion of ceasing of all material desires. And I don't recollect the very specific verse or the bhajan likely to, and I would be happy if somebody on the call is able to provide reference to it. And that relates to ceasing of all material desires. And the and that verse or that sentence that I'm looking for is how does one understand that one has received the mercy of Lord Nityananda? And the answer to that is one understands that one has received the mercy of Nityananda, of Lord Nityananda, when one has ceased all hankering for material desires. And so, again, as we pray to Lord Nityananda, as we pray to and pray and seek shelter of a spiritual master, our desire or our prayer is um, to again holding on to spiritual desires and letting go of material desires. And there's and it is also true that just focusing on the negative, which is letting go of material desires, is actually not a great strategy. A better strategy is to develop a higher taste by which one automatically feels a distaste for material desires. Now, having said that, acharyas always prescribe the do's and the don'ts, and so the focus is always on the do's first, and then for people who want to carry on the process of bhakti and deepen the relationship in bhakti, are encouraged to also give up the don'ts so that the path becomes uh, or the journey becomes much more faster, and one can make much rapid progress in bhakti. So with that, I will see if there are any comments or questions. All right. Well, thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day. Hare Krishna.